Patriots and the Buffalo Bills. Well, oh my goodness. What do you do with Cam Newton? I don't know. I have him as QB 21. I don't think there is a single New England Patriot player that you have to play this week. The only other person that even comes in my top 36 is Rex Burkhead. That's it. And that's only because he's seeing both the carries and receiving work enough where he has somewhat of a high floor. But Josh McDaniels should not be considered a primetime head coaching candidate that he has been for the past couple of seasons. Josh McDaniels, borderline, really should be on the hot seat of whether or not he should even be the offensive coordinator moving forward after this season. The play calling has been horrendous. The play calling has been so predictable, so vanilla. And that's been the number one issue, especially over the past couple of weeks. They look like they had no plan of attack against the San Francisco 49ers. None. And it wasn't just because Cam didn't play well. It is a mixture of they don't have a deep field threat. So there's no reason for a defense to feel the need to have to protect deep. They can just squeeze this offense, play it close to the line of scrimmage, because that's where this entire offense is going to be taking place at. They don't have anybody to stretch the field. And Cam Newton, frankly, I don't think has the arm to stretch the field anymore either. He hasn't been throwing the ball well. You've been leaning on him for his legs in a fantasy football purpose. Now, will it be better than 2 points? Yes, it will be better than 2 points. That doesn't mean you want to play him, though, obviously. And what's crazy about this is that the Bills haven't had the greatest defense this year. Had Cam been playing just decently over the past 2 weeks after coming off the bye, after coming off of COVID, I think you would be looking to play Cam as a borderline top 12 quarterback this week. But as it stands right now, how can you? There's nothing on this Patriot team that scares you. There's no reason to believe that they have any kind of a ceiling in this matchup. And Cam's the only one who I would even be contemplating. There's no way. There's no way. He is back on he's going to have to show me before I believe I can play him in my lineup again. And Josh McDaniels is going to have to do something different. And that's what I'm talking about with the running back situation. The only reason that Rex Burkhead, I believe, has been as successful as he has been to this point is because he's the only running back that, when in the game, does not tip the hand as to exactly what the Patriots are going to do. If James White's in the game, they're throwing the football and they're checking it down. If Damian Harris is in the game, they are running the football with either Cam or Damian Harris. If Rex Burkhead's in the game, you're not entirely sure because he's the only running back that they'll either run it with or throw it with. It's making the entire offensive system predictable. We've seen this in the past when guys just have too many running backs that they feel like they have to rotate out there for absolutely no reason at all. So until Josh McDaniels gets his act together, I don't think there's a single Patriot player that you can play moving forward. And like I said, the only one I'm even going to think about is Cam, and he's going to have to show me before I can believe I can put him back in my lineup again at any point this season. We move on to, real quick, though, I want to mention N'Keal Harry. He is in concussion protocol. He's had a head injury. Not that you're going to play him for fantasy lineups anyway, but that is the one injury going on the Patriots side of the ball. We move on to the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen didn't get quite right against the Jets like everybody was helping. However, he still comes in as QB6 for us. The Patriots, just as a team, just look like they're kind of in shambles right now. And I know this is a divisional matchup, and I know it's Bill Belichick, and I know a lot of people are saying, like, well, they have a habit of being able to bounce back in these situations. Look, this is not the same talented Patriots team that we've seen over the past couple of years. And I think the big thing is that they don't have Tom Brady. And even when Tom Brady wasn't playing well, he had the team focused. I don't believe right now that team's buying in. You have trade rumors circling around about Stephon Gilmore possibly being traded by next week's deadline. I think there's a lot of flux within that team, and I don't think they're necessarily in a spot where they know for sure that they're trying to go for it all, that they're trying to win it all. I don't think they know that. I don't think they know that's what their goal is. So I believe that this game, Josh Allen, because the Patriots aren't as bad as the New York Jets are right now, because nobody's as bad as the New York Jets are, should give you a top 10 performance, should give you a top 6 performance in this game. Remember, the one thing about Allen is that he's always going to be the guy who could get you 15 points just with his legs. So he's always going to have that high floor. You're never going to bench him, and I don't think any people were talking about him doing so. You're just kind of questioning, can I get the ceiling that I was getting through the first 4 weeks? Of course it's possible, but I don't think it's probable, not even in this game. His fundamentals have fallen off. He's back to Josh Allen of last year. Unless that is able to rework itself, he's going to be back to being his inconsistent, not always making smart decision Josh Allen self. But that doesn't mean for fantasy football purposes that he still can't finish in the top 6 because of his legs. So you're going to play him. You're going to expect a high ceiling, especially this week. When you look at the matchups this week, and you'll kind of notice as we go through them, when we go through this show, and we go through tomorrow's show at 12 to 1:30 on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, the late window of Week 8 matchup previews, you're going to notice that this is not shaping up to be a particularly high-scoring week. I would not be surprised if there's a lot of low fantasy scores this week. Wouldn't be surprised at all. That's why I think Josh Allen maybe doesn't have to give you the 35-point performance in order to give you a top 6 quarterback performance for the week. There's a real chance we're going to see a lot more low-scoring games heading into a week, or at least a lot more low-scoring fantasy points scored. Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, what do you do? I don't think you play either one of them. I have them both ranked as RB3s coming into the week. You're not going to feel good about either one, even though this is a matchup that should be a decent matchup on paper, but so is the Jets. I think ultimately, right now, the tea leaves are telling me that the Buffalo Bills would rather see Zach Moss take over this job than Devin Singletary. I think they're looking at this as Devin Singletary had a shot. Zach Moss was out. He was only okay for the most part. He wasn't great. He wasn't good. And look, with the way that they're using the running game, the way they're using Josh Allen, the way they're using this offense in general, I don't believe there's any running back on the Buffalo Bills right now who's actually going to get enough touches to stay in rhythm. Neither one is going to be getting 18 to 20 opportunities. It's not going to happen because they're both going to be playing at a near 50-50 split. But would I be surprised before long that it's Zach Moss getting that 55 to 45 split with Devin Singletary across the board between rushing and receiving statistics? No, it wouldn't surprise me at all. There's a reason the Buffalo Bills had interest in trying to sign Le'Veon Bell. Can you drop them? No, you can't drop guys who should still, because of the volume, because of the matchup, be considered somewhere in the RB3 territory. But do you feel good about playing either one? Absolutely not. And I would hope you have better options, but they're pieces that you have to keep in case one gets injured and somebody falls into a situation where just by default they have a lot of touches, or maybe one gets hot. But you're not going to play them right now this week. This is a wait and see situation. Only if you're in desperate buy situations do they come in as flex plays for you, which is why they come in as RB3s for me, because there's going to be a lot of those situations out there this week, given injuries and given the heavy bye week. Stephon Diggs, we expect him to be okay as far as the little bit of injury that he picked up last week. He comes in at wide receiver 19 for us. I'm not super worried about Stephon Gilmore. Will he shadow him while he's on the perimeter? Yes, but they've been moving Diggs all around. I don't think he's going to see Gilmore 24/7 of this game. And right now, Gilmore's not Gilmore. Right now, Gilmore's not playing up to his 100% potential, where he's this lockdown corner like we've grown used to him being. The main reason for that, I believe, is like we were hearing with the trade rumors. I don't think he's 100% committed to the team right now because I don't think he's 100% sure that he's going to be there. So that plays into effect when you're talking about a Stephon Diggs who comes in at wide receiver 19 for us. He still has potential to be a top 12 wide receiver with the amount of targets that he's been seeing. We know it just takes one play for him. He's been probably as safe as they come when it comes to volume at the wide receiver position so far this season. I have no issue with Stephon Diggs being a set it and forget it starter the rest of the way. One guy I do want to talk about is John Brown. Now, I don't have him inside the top 36. I finished these rankings. They're up on bellyupfantasysports.com. They will get updated through the week. I'm waiting to get confirmation that John Brown's definitely going to play, but I will say that he was able to practice yesterday, so he's trending in the right direction of being able to suit up this week. Once that is confirmed, then I will put him into my rankings, and that will probably be, a wide receiver 4, a high-end wide receiver 4 with big play capability. They've been wanting to use John Brown when he's been out there. So he's a guy that if you're in a situation where you feel like you got to hit a home run with and he's out there and he's healthy, John Brown is somebody you can go to. Now, if John Brown does play, on the flip side, Cole Beasley goes from somebody who's a high volume wide receiver 3 right now in your lineups to borderline, I don't know if I want to play him that much, because when both John Brown and Stephon Diggs are out there, the target share is highly inconsistent when it comes to Cole Beasley. And we all know the target share is what he needs to maintain his wide receiver 3 status that he has now kind of built himself into over the past couple of weeks, why he's been getting picked up in a lot of leagues and being played. Otherwise, there's not too much of a high ceiling. He's not a red zone target. He's not a big play guy. If John Brown and Stephon Diggs are out there, I don't know if I really want to go ahead and take the chance on playing Cole Beasley in my flex or as my wide receiver 3 spot. As it stands right now, though, with us sort of ranking as if John Brown won't play, then he can be a low-end wide receiver 3 for you in that situation. So that's something you're going to have to follow us on social media for, at BellyUpMDFF Show, to keep up to date with that, to know exactly where their value is going to fall before Sunday. And we'll keep you up to date. Make sure you're following us and checking it out on bellyupfantasysports.com. So let's move on here to the next game that we have for you after the Buffalo and New England game, and get to more of these matchups of these, what I think might be low-scoring games. And we'll talk about one that I do think will be a shootout on Sunday, which is the Tennessee Titans and the Cincinnati Bengals. This game could very well be the back and forth game of the weekend in general. Both Tennessee's defense has not been very impressive. They haven't been able to stop much. Cincinnati Bengals with Joe Burrow, with the way he has played as of late, have come on strong, at least offensively. He's giving them a chance. Now, they haven't been able to seal the deal because that defense is horrendous as well. But Burrow is keeping them in games. He's giving them a chance. They're able to put up a lot of points to keep up with these other teams right now. I don't see why this game is going to be any different. This is going to be the one game where there's a lot of fantasy points to be had. Ryan Tannehill is a top 10 quarterback for us. Joe Burrow is a top streaming option, right, hovering around 12 to 15 range this week. After last week's 400-yard performance, we know he has the ceiling to get inside the top 3. And I wouldn't be shocked if that happened again this week. Of course, you're playing Derrick Henry. He's our RB2 on the week, number 2 overall on the week. Joe Mixon, Giovanni Bernard, what's going on in that situation? Joe Mixon didn't practice yesterday. I talked about this last week when we were previewing the Friday show. And I talked about how their bye is next week in week 9. They still haven't, to this point, told us exactly what the foot issue is of Joe Mixon. We still don't know. We think it's a midfoot sprain, because after kind of watching Chris Carson go through what he's going through, it's very similar to how we watched Joe Mixon and how his prognosis went with his foot issue. So we think, based on Chris Carson, that it could possibly be a midfoot sprain, which means he'll probably miss this week. Like I said, he didn't practice yesterday. I don't expect him to practice today. I don't expect him to play. If their bye was at next week, then there might be more hope if he was getting closer to 100%. But if you're the Cincinnati Bengals and you're not in a playoff race, you're 1-6, why would you play your number 1 paid player on the team when he's not 100% healthy? Why would you bother when you have a bye week the following week and he can come back 100% healthy against the Pittsburgh Steelers in week 10? It doesn't make any sense to me that that's the route that they would take. So I fully anticipate Giovanni Bernard being the starting running back again this week. And if he is, he's a high-end RB2. Every time Bernard is thrust into a situation where he's going to get the majority of the work because he has a high floor, because he's going to get 5 to 7 targets in the passing game, along with all the carries, he's going to have a chance to score a touchdown, especially in this game against the Tennessee Titans. Remember, James Conner should have had 2. He didn't wind up getting 2, but he should have had 2. Then he's going to be a high-end RB2. If Mixon were to play, we have him ranked just inside the top 10. Either way, whoever the Cincinnati Bengals starting running back is, you're playing him this week with confidence against the Tennessee Titans. Let's get into the wide receiver group, because that's where both of these teams really, you're kind of questioning, how does this break down necessarily? Let's start with the Cincinnati Bengals, because that's been very interesting to me. I think you could play all 3 of these guys. You could play all 3 Cincinnati Bengal wide receivers. A.J. Green comes in as the lowest ranked, as you would expect at this point. But he's had 3 games now where he's been targeted in double digits. He still leads the team in targets, BTW, through 7 weeks. I think he's due for a touchdown. He dropped one again last week. I think he's due for a touchdown with the high volume that he's been seeing in the red zone. And the fact that he's playing a better role for where he's at in his career, which is the intermediate, those Robert Woods type of roles. They're not asking him to burn himself out going deep anymore. They're leaving it to T. Higgins. T. Higgins can take care of that.